All right. So, wanted to do a another lakeside chat video. Um, Talking about feelings. So, this is inspired by brother Alvin. Um, just did a voice note to him, and just talking about certain situations that are happening around us, and examining them and talking about them a little bit more. Um, Now that we've started the ball rolling on men, not just not really taking back, but knowing that we have a choice for some of these things in terms of mate selection, in terms of the way we handle situations. A lot we've been programmed so deeply to think that we don't have much of a choice. We don't have many options, things like that. Now that we're seeing, and it's been shown to us in many ways. In terms of like dating choices, in terms of handling issues with relationships, divorces, and things like that. We as men have been given, in a sense, back. No, we've taken back. Uh, we've really taken back a lot of the liberties that we once held, or that we just didn't really see as possible. It's always worrying about the other person and their feelings, worrying about your woman's feelings, worrying about even your kids' feelings and things like that. Um, Now you're seeing men just saying, "Hey, listen, man, if this is what you want, then I'm gonna give it to you and call it a day." Some would call it stoicism. I like the word indifference myself, and that's what I move towards in terms of the previous waves of like MGTOW, the MGTOW philosophy ideology. The one that I follow is from somewhat of the 1.0, or getting into the 2.0 days, which is when I started. But the 1.0 thought process of, I don't hate women. I understand them. And when you go into certain situations with a level of understanding, you you start to see things not just for what they are, but really you start to say, "Oh, okay, this makes sense." Like, "Oh, okay, this falls in line with what I've already known. This falls in line with the things that I've seen per previous experiments and talks with other men, and even my own personal experience, and even talks with women in some cases. This is what happens, and I know what this is." Like, there's not too many questions. The mysteriousness or the mystery of it all, it has just been removed. The veil has been removed. The cover has been removed, and you see all of the workings underneath it. And once you're in that space, or that headspace, a lot of times you'll look at what's going on around you, and it doesn't seem like it's a mystery. Things aren't moving faster anymore; they're moving slower. Almost like, say, like, for instance, if you're like the Flash or something like that, you start to see the wings of the hummingbird, and you start to see that it's not floating, it's just flapping really, really fast. So that's the best way I can put it, in a sense, in terms of how I've always seen, or how I've come to understand and get a better knowledge or understanding of MGTOW and MGTOW philosophies. um, a lot of this stuff that we're seeing on a regular basis, uh, that's happening in this space even now. Yes, it is new, but then you hear so many uh, talking points and rehashing of old subjects and questions and things like that, and you're like, well, we've seen this before. It's cyclical. It's repeating itself, and it doesn't seem like it's moving forward, but it actually is. Excuse me, it actually is. A lot of things are coming to fruition that BGS Ibmore has talked about in the past, and I sent him an email about a certain situation in my life that was happening, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, we talked about this before. This we knew this was going to happen, or he knew this was going to happen. He told us." Not to say we didn't believe him, but it was like we didn't think it would happen this soon. Like, that was back in 2017, 2018, and now we're looking at 2021, and we're seeing these things really happening. So it's really cool because it's like the terraforming of the space, or terraforming of the environment, the society, even if it's just a little bit. Sorry if there's a lot of noise, wind. It's kind of brisk out here right now. Like, I got my hands in my pockets and all that. But anyways, moving on. Taking back, not just taking back choice, or yeah, not just taking back choice. Now, I think we as men in this space need to start taking back feeling. Um, Need to start taking back emotion, and start being one, or being upfront with our emotions. I like diamond net. Damn it, is that freaking beaver? I got beaver in my lake, man, and those things are not good at all. Like, they will drain this whole damn thing or dam it up and cause all types of problems. But yeah, I got to figure that out. I think I shot one of them the other day. But anyways, so talking about, if you look at Diamond Net, she talks about Jungian psychology and integrating the shadow. And the shadow is not a bad or evil thing. It's just parts of your psyche that you possibly repress, or parts of your psyche that you do not want to deal with on a regular basis. So it gets stuffed in a trunk, or a closet, if you will. And you could think of, the trunk or the closet. The trunk would be like Pandora's box, and what Pandora's box does. And in some cases, people see it as chaos, but other people will see it as change. And changes can be positive for some and negative for others. Coming out of the closet and the negative connotations with that. So we like to repress or put a lot of these things in our shadow of our consciousness, and we don't want to deal with them. We don't want to talk about them. We don't want to feel or have or deal with these feelings. We always want to do things to get away from that. Maybe even stay within the norm. Talk about more, or not talk about, but be in line with stereotypes. A lot of times we actually willingly fall in line with these stereotypes because they're comfortable, because they're well known. And as much as we try to define ourselves as individuals, we often like to define ourselves as a part of a group. So even a group hyper individualism has become a group, which is crazy. So now you're having more hyper individualists, and then they're listening to other hyper individualists, and they have that camaraderie of being hyper individualists. But it's just like, but if you're a hyper individualist, then how can you be a part of a group of hyper individualists? Like, it's things like that, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just people that you want to feel like you're a part of something, or the same thing as another man, or another person on this earth, and you have that camaraderie, that brotherhood. And I think it's beautiful, because it also it helps you progress in the way that you want to, and you have older brothers in the space or on that line of thinking that will share that with you and move in the same direction, which is great. So, oh man, I think this thing's gonna cut off. All right, I'll probably have to chop this up. Hold on. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to stitch the video together. Sorry about that. But I was talking about, hyper individualists and getting to the point here. But yeah, now we need to take back feeling, and being one with our feelings, and being upfront about our feelings and how we feel about things, or how we feel about situations and our thoughts towards other people. If you feel that you're in a situation where you're not getting what you want out of it, then you need to be upfront with that person, and more so than anything, be upfront with yourself as a man. Now, as a man, we usually filter our feelings through our logic, or our logic centers, and we always think our feelings more, or we think more than we feel. So if we feel anything towards someone, we'll ask them questions, we'll be inquisitive, we'll talk to them more, we'll try to find out more about them, see what makes them tick, because by understanding who they are, we could possibly understand their feelings, and also understand our feelings towards them, and what we think is going to happen, should happen, and how we want to move forward with certain situations. But more so than that, if you feel that you are if you feel that, in some cases, if you're in a relationship with a woman and you've been with her for a long period of time, um, you feel that the love is gone. Like, you may not say anything, you may try to fix it, but sometimes being upfront and saying, "Hey, listen, man, it's not like it used to be. This doesn't make any sense. What's really going on?" So, if you're having issues like that, then I think you need to be upfront with it. And we as men need not to be chastised, looked down. I can't figure out the right words, but we need to not be looked at in a negative light for actually expressing our feelings, and not so much just negative light by other people. Because I could say something like, other people's opinions of you don't matter. They do. I mean, because if they didn't, you wouldn't care, and you wouldn't even have a problem with expressing your feelings and how you think about things. Like, it would just be what it is, and then you'd put it out there. But for those that actually do care, and they can admit that they do, then you also need to have an air about you where you're like, listen, I'm going to let you know how I feel, and it is what it is. And be honest with yourself. And that's kind of the biggest thing, is being truthful and honest to yourself. Like, if you don't like a person, hey, listen, let them know. Don't try and let them down easy. Don't try and, do the usual back and forth or anything else like that. Like, you need to let them know how you truly feel about them and about any situation. And I think that's very important. And now that we've like realized once again, and like, I don't think people really understand the programming that has plagued so many male minds of lack of choice. Because you could talk to somebody and you could see that they really think they don't have a choice when it comes to certain situations. And you'll be like, bro, what are you talking about? Of course you have a choice. You always have a choice. You could choose to do this. You choose to not have a choice. And you'd be like, what are you talking about? This and that. I've always been told this, so on and so forth. And in that I've always been told XYZ is the programming that they think they don't have a choice. It's a form of mental slavery. It's a form of socialized slavery, really. So when that happens, when you start to see as a man that you really do have a choice to move forward with certain situations, now it's like, okay, I think one of the next things we need to do is be upfront about how we feel, and letting other people know that, and be unapologetic. I used to have a very serious problem, and it had to deal with my upbringing. I still don't know the source of it, but I understand what it is, and I try all the time to stop it. One of my friends, a good friend of mine, I met him, oh man, probably 2008, 9 or something like that. Probably 8, 9. So, and I met him at a job. I was working as a computer consultant, and he was my senior on the job. And he's like, "Yo, Mike, you apologize a lot." And I was just like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, sometimes you say sorry, and it's just like, why are you saying sorry? Like, it's not you that should be sorry, and there's nothing to be sorry about." Like, I'd ask a question to be like, "Hey, man, sorry about that," but like, I always felt like I was I was a burden to that other person, and I always felt that I was uh, a hindrance, an annoyance of some sort. But it was really me, like, thinking that, like, people always talk about, there's the external racism, but really it's the racist in your head that you have to fight on a daily basis. Like, where you're walking around and you just automatically look at somebody and you think that there's some type of racism coming from them, but really it's your thoughts that you've projected onto them. They are but a canvas, and you are the projector and the source of that racism. That's a whole nother thing. And for some people, it's more apparent than not. And then next, then you just find out, like, oh, okay, this person is an okay person once you start talking to them. So things like that happen quite a bit, and people don't realize that it's not the other person being that way. It's actually you and your thoughts and what you've projected onto them that is doing that. So I would I felt like I was, and like even if somebody like did me wrong, I was sorry. I made them the victim and said sorry about it, and went from there. And that was a very serious problem because I was apologizing, and Dr. T.S. Johnson said it because I mentioned it in a comment because of like mentioned in a comment in the video, and he was like, "You're basically apologizing for your existence." And it was just a great way of saying that. Like, I was apologizing for even being not just alive, but being there to even be a burden on you in some way, shape, or form. So I would always just apologize for that stuff. And it was just like, why am I doing that? Like, why do I always feel sorry? Why do I always feel this? So on and so forth. So that was a very serious issue and a problem that I had that I've worked to solve, and I'm no longer sorry. So along with no longer being sorry, now it's like, okay, now I have more choices, right? Like the Manosphere, Black Manosphere, MGTOW movement have, in a sense, unlocked the special code, unlocked the character in all black, Akuma or something like that. And now I'm not sorry anymore. I have that choice. And then along with that choice is also a level of honesty that I've unlocked within myself to say, oh, okay, this is how I look at myself. This is how I feel. This is how I feel towards you, towards anyone else, and being honest with that. And that's very important because once you've unlocked that level of honesty, you could look at yourself and say, hey, like one of my daily truths, and I said this, I said this in the job interview, or like, I said this in the job interview, or the one of the intro pieces. And my daily truth is when I wake up, I think of things like I'm getting everything. No, I'm getting. Oh man, I can't believe I forgot. It's like, oh yeah, there it is. I'm getting everything I want out of life. So that means like if you're in a really shitty position in your life, and you're in there for a prolonged period of time, you wanted that. You want to be in that shitty situation. Now, I'm not talking about like, okay, you're a child or something like that. I'm talking about in your adult life, you're living on your own, or you may have a roommate, or you have a job, you're paying bills, but you're living check to check, or you have money, but then that money goes out of your hand just as quick as it comes in, and all your bills are paid, and you're making yourself live check to check. And you've seen where it's like, listen, I can actually not live this way, but something in me always says I need to go buy more from Amazon. I need to go out and do this. I need to provide this for this person that's next to me. And in reality, you do not have to do that. And even if you didn't do that for that person, if they do not understand that you don't do that for that person, and they don't stick around or not or what have you, and it's well within their right because they have that choice. They have that choice to not do that. If that's the case, then you have to really evaluate that person being in your life in the way that they are in your life. Some people do not need to be in your life at a certain capacity. Dollar Will says it the best, and I love it, and I forgot where he got it from, but he says sometimes you gotta love these niggas from afar. Sometimes you really have to look at the people that are close to you and say, hey, listen, man, I love you, but I'm gonna go to my room. You know what I mean? Like, put yourself behind a wall or door or a firewall of sorts, so that you just don't have to deal with that person on a regular basis. Deal with their annoyances and the way they feel about you, or the things that they say, or the manipulation and the lies that they tell you, so on and so forth. You don't have to deal with that. So, anyways, we need to take back feeling as men. We've taken back choice. And when I say taken back, we've always had it, but now we're reprogramming ourselves and our minds to say, hey, we have this choice, and I do not choose this for myself any longer. Now we have to actually address our feelings, address our traumas, and our thought processes and how we view the world more so than anything ever before. So hey, shout out to my brother, I'm Classic Alvin. I appreciate you so much, man, and others in the space. Edward Anderson, Don Calypso, Grinch the God, man, like having good conversations with him. Having good conversations with him, about business and just about even like the mental side of things. It was just pretty funny. Like, we had a conversation and he was like trying to understand, like, why I'm the nice guy and how I approach things. And I'm like, listen, bro, like I may be the nice guy, but there's some moments, and he even said, bro, that's savage. And I'm like, I understand it's savage in terms of some of the things that I've done, in terms of dealing with women. But at the same time, I'm the nice guy. Like, okay, a little aside, because he was like, man, you need to talk about this. And, the difference between Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll being the smart and the nicer person, but then there's Mr. Hyde that comes out, and that's his alter ego. And I told him, like, for me personally, there's Michael, Omar, and then there's, like, my last name, so, and like, when you have these different pieces of yourself, or these different names, if you will, represents three distinct personality traits or behaviors, I should say. So Michael is the charismatic one. Omar is my last name is my charismatic side, where I talk to people. I'm the extrovert. Michael's the innocent person that stays inside for the most part and is childlike, kind of like, because my dad used to always call me Mikey, and he still does. And then my middle name, Omar, that's the one that will cut it off pretty quick. That's the one I pass it off to. And I had to make an actual conscious choice to be that asshole at some point in my life. And I knew I was doing it because I used to have conversations about it to myself. And I said, for you to actually progress and get to where you need to, you are going to have to become that asshole. And that doesn't mean you overwrite or get rid of your other personalities. It means when necessary, you need to cut a motherfucker off. Plain and simple. You need to try them as much as they are trying you. You feel disrespected, you let them fucking know this is not okay and I need to move up out of here. Plain and simple. That's just all how it is. If you don't like it, hey, I don't know what to tell you. Mike was here, and when you talked to him, you was all fucking asshole and being a bitch and shit like that. Now, Omar's gonna deal with your fucking ass. Hope you have fucking fun. You wanted to talk to the manager, Karen? Here's the fucking manager. And you see how there's that change in terms of how I talk, the tone in which I use, the forcefulness, so on and so forth. And these are the things that you have to do even when you're in business. You talk to people a certain way and you will get a certain reaction from them. And I'm the type of person where, and Grinch, like, we were saying the same things, but like we look at it from a different perspective, where if a person puts you in a certain lane, I'm gonna stay there. Like, that's the lane you want to put me in? No problem. I will stay in that lane. But the thing is, when you come back, or like if you want to put me on the shelf per se, I'll stay there, I'll stay in that lane. But when you come back to pull me out of that lane, don't expect me to move. Because what happens is I allowed you to put me in that lane. After that, I'm not moving, because my choice is not to do what you tell me any longer. If that's where you want to put me in terms of priorities, and that lane could be on the shelf. It could be priorities for you in that person's life. It could be positions at your job, so on and so forth, right? They put you in the mailroom, they put you at a low-paying position, and they don't give you any more money or anything else like that, but then you decide to leave, and then they want to start doing all types of nice and cool things for you and get you to a better spot and position when you're going to go somewhere else making X amount of dollars more. And it's just like, now they want to try you or do some extra stuff. So it's not to say that you stay in the lane, you just isolate yourself from that person, is what I was trying to get across to him about it. And we reached an understanding or anything about it, but that's just how I put it. It's like, if a person puts you in that position, sometimes you have to realize the position that you're in, make peace with it, and then move on. Now you can say, if it's like Naruto or something like that, you put a wood clone in your place or a placeholder so that person still thinks you're there. And that could be meaning that, and some people just don't want to do that. They might cut that other person off. They might curse that person out, so on and so forth. This is how I personally do it. Everyone has their way of doing it. So you have to, deal with that how you may. But that's kind of how I look at it. And if a person wants to try me like that, then okay, hey, listen, sometimes people get over on you, and that's how they make you feel. And sometimes you handle it right then and there, and sometimes you figure it out later. But once you figure it out, it's really up to you if you're going to allow that to happen again. If you're going to allow them to change lanes on you again, or change your lane, or change your priority, move you up higher or lower in the totem pole, or anything else like that. And you have to be conscious of it. And a part of that is being honest with your feelings, because if you're not honest with your feelings, you'll just maintain a level of beta orbitership around that person. Being a beta male orbiter. And always staying in a quote unquote, people call it the friend zone and things like that, or staying in a certain position. And this goes not just only in personal relationships, but also business relationships. And that's where it's very important for us as men, that when we're having these talks about our personal lives, a lot of the things that we do at home in our personal relationships, if you actually look at it, we're doing in our business relationships as well. And that's where we're starting to see where we have real issues, where home goes to work, and you're bringing your work to your house life. A lot of the things that you do in your home, or you allow to happen in your home, will happen in their professional life as well, and the same thing vice versa. So we have to be cognizant of that, and a part of the reprogramming that we all have to do, we have to take back our we've taken back our choice, or realized, or however you want to put it. And now we also have to start taking back our feelings. And that's really just being honest with yourself, and about how you see yourself in relation to other people. So you could see yourself as better than, or admit yourself like, hey, listen, maybe you feel that you're less than. Anyways, that's it. Thank you so much for listening. I gotta go and stitch this thing together now. That was a little bit longer than I wanted, but I think it was good. And now it's getting now it's getting even darker and everything out here. So definitely time to get back in. Hope you guys enjoy these chats and these talks a little bit more. And I thank you guys so much, and I appreciate you all. I appreciate you greatly. I really do. For those that interact with the live streams, and that are out here trying to find their way, and for people that reach out to me in any way, shape, or form, I'm here to help it as best as possible. And really and truly, I love you all. Peace.